Welcome to the podcast Beer and People from Beerstory Brewhouse. Beerstories is normally a YouTube channel with tips, guides, and how-to videos for homebrewing, but I also do interviews with exciting people in the beer industry, and these are very suited for the podcast format, and you'll find them all right here. Hey Mikkel, thanks for meeting with me.
You're welcome.
This interview is about inspiration and creativity when brewing beer, and I wondered, where's your inspiration coming from and your creativity?
From a lot of things, from traveling, meeting people, brewing with brewers, meeting coffee roasters, chefs, farmers, musicians, even musicians actually. I mean, I have done quite a few collaborations with musicians and tattoo artists and just people that have a different mindset or I try to get out as much as possible because me sitting behind the desk in an office is not giving me any inspiration.
And that's why
you get out and meet and talk to people.
Yeah, and that's why you hired a person to sit behind the desk running the company, and you basically just being the creative
creative
CEO
director is the title. I don't know. Exactly. It's actually to get out and not do too much numbers and those things because it gives nothing to me, to the company, or to anybody. So so that's why I see you. Exactly.
So you made beers with inspiration from musicians. How does that work? What inspires you when talking to a musician?
And this is just an example. I think all people that are into art of some form, I mean, they're all people, but I mostly work, with people in other art industries. And musicians, they have a creative mindset that you can translate into beer, into flavors, into aromas. Just like a lot of other people have. An example is I did a beer with a band called Ring the Bells quite a few years ago. It's actually quite a few years ago. They did a new album, and together with them I designed a beer that develops along with the music when you listen to the album. So it started. I mean, if it was an imperial stout, and if you take an imperial stout out of the fridge at 6 degrees and you drink it, it's very closed. And very narrow and very, you don't get all the flavors, nuances and stuff like that. And then when it warms up, it starts opening up. You start getting a lot of more different aromas and stuff like that. So we designed the album so all the first songs in the beginning was very dark and closed, and then it developed through the album. And the purpose was to have the beer follow it. And they understood exactly what happened and what I as a beer maker meant, and I understood exactly what they as musicians meant when they described their music and described the different songs and different ways of
Okay, so you can make a taste out of a feeling or out of an talking.
I would say so. I mean, also, I know this is a very very it's an example. I mean, obviously you design beer for different periods of the year as well. I mean, a beer in the winter. If I ask you what is a winter beer, I'm sure you have something in mind. And what is a summer beer? I'm sure you have something in mind. And what is that? It's a feeling. And so you can actually connect beer to a lot of feelings, a lot of If you look at a painting. I mean, is that an imperial stout of 12%? Is it or is it a lager of 4%? You will know immediately, or in between, or something else.
So how do you come from talking to a person, or seeing a painting, or tasting some kind of ingredient to actually get it down on paper and making a recipe that can turn into a beer?
Sometimes it's the easiest thing in the world, and sometimes it's a longer process. I think because I've made so many different recipes and worked with so many ingredients, it's fairly easy for me to translate a lot of things into a taste or an aroma.
Yeah.
And since I know so many different ingredients, it's fairly easy for me to put them together and say, okay, if I want something for spring, for example, like flowers blossoming, you're like, what can we use to get that feeling in a beer? I know this sounds like I took too much drugs this morning, but I think it's actually...
Yeah, but beer is an experience.
Yeah.
It's not just drinking some kind of liquid with some taste. It's an experience and it's a feeling.
And you get a feeling every time you drink a beer. You get a feeling, and you connect the flavor to a feeling or to a period of time or to a place or something like that. Every time I mean, it's just something you drink to quench your thirst. It actually gives you an experience and takes you somewhere else, in my opinion. So yeah.
Cool. So when you're making a recipe, how do you know that it's balanced? Because for me, when I'm brewing, the most important thing is to get balance in my beer.
I agree.
Many times it succeeds, and sometimes I don't succeed. But how do you create that balance? Because I think it's so important for a beer to be, for me to want another beer. Actually.
Balanced and drinkable. And you can say how is an imperial stout drinkable? But I agree, balance is extremely important. I know I've made beers in the past and probably will again make beers that are not balanced at all. Like 1000 IBU is definitely not balanced.
No.
Black or 19-18% imperial stout is not balanced. But it had a different purpose. But if the purpose is to make a good beer, I know it sounds like I've made beers that I don't. Then balance. I mean, that's in my opinion, that's what makes a good beer. Is a balance. It's not. Is it the most hoppy beer? Is it the most coffeeiest beer? Does it actually taste good? Are the ingredients well composed together? And how do you do that? I mean, sometimes you fail, but I think mostly it's experience. I mean, how does a chef make a balanced dish? By experience, by knowing the ingredients, by knowing the process, by knowing if you add this or if you warm it to this degrees, then this happens. And I've worked with this for so many years now. I've been brewing for almost 20 years now, and I've made so many recipes and worked with so many people at that. I think I have a good grip of both processes and ingredients now to make things balanced. People might disagree, but
well, Mikkeller is known for a very wide range. And, everyone can find some beer they like. Everyone can find some beer they don't like. But
the day I make beers that everybody likes, I failed because then I'm just average, and that's not what I want. Obviously, I want some people to like all my beers, but you can't make it. I mean, if you make like a sour, spontaneous fermented beer, there will be people that don't like that style, for example. But there will be people that love that style, and that's just how it is. And if you don't make that style, I mean, what are you? I mean, if you only make the average stuff, I don't think it's interesting. So definitely challenge people and make them move.
And if you just stick to the same 4 beers you've been brewing all the time, you can't evolve, you can't find new things
At least it's a different approach, and I mean, it's not an approach that I stand for as a person and we as a company. But when I go to Bamberg and I drink a lager from a brewery that makes that one pilsner or something, it's good with me. They've been doing it for 11 generations. Perfect. If I go to Arval in Belgium, I mean, I don't want them to do anything else. I don't want an Arval IPA, for example. So in some cases, I think it's perfect that they've spent 100, 200 years on just making a product better. But for me, I would get bored.
Is there a new Beer Geek breakfast waiting in the horizon?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think the world has changed since Beer Geek breakfast. I think, and the beer world has changed as well. You could ask, is there a new Beatles in the horizon? I don't think there will be a new Beatles. It's impossible because there are too many things today, too much information. Things move too quickly. I mean, you can make a beer today and it's forgotten tomorrow, even though it's the highest rated beer, because the next day there's one that's even higher rated, and then that one is forgotten. Is it good or bad? I don't know. I think it's a pity that the world is changing so rapidly, because I think we forget what was good yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I honestly don't think so. I don't think there will be another. I honestly don't think there will be another whatever Big Breakfast or Dark Lord or Val or Heady Chopper. I don't think that will happen.
No.
I mean, because
there are too many chefs around the pot.
But just and too many opportunities and too many possibilities for people
Yeah. Well, Beer Geek Breakfast started this whole journey you've been on. Can you tell us how you actually made that recipe? How did it come up?
It's actually a coincidence. Like a lot of my good beers actually are coincidences, which also tells a lot. I did it. It was a homebrew. I wanted to make an oatmeal stout. I tasted an oatmeal stout from Tree Floyd's Moloko, which also has it's a milk stout, but also has oats in it. And I wanted to kind of make a stout that had like a silky mouthfeel. And so I did. Fermented in plastic buckets and everything. No fancy stuff. Very old school equipment. And then I thought it was a little bit boring. And then I asked a few brewers and got in contact with Peter from AleSmith in San Diego. And he did Speedway Stout, and which had coffee in it. And I asked him, how do you add your coffee? Because I really, really like Speedway Stout. It was maybe the highest rated beer in the world at that time. Yeah. And then he told me I added the coffee, completely changed the beer. It changed from something like half boring to a very like nuanced and complex beer. Yeah. And then I bottled it and sold it in a little shop unofficially, because it was homebrew, and it got rated the best stout in the world on Rate Beer. Yeah. And everything went from there. Yeah. So pure luck, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. So do you have any favorite malts or some things you like to add if you have to make a great recipe starting from blank? Which ingredients are your favorites?
I would say because of Beer Geek Breakfast, which had 25% oats, which at that time was a lot, unheard of, I think, pretty much. 25%, wow, today people will be like, because of that, I use a lot of oats. I've used oats in my IPAs, in a lot of different beers. Obviously not in the beers where oats doesn't fit in, but it's definitely an ingredient that is very close to my heart. Yeah. And then I would say coffee, which is something that I've worked with for the last 15 years. I've worked with a lot of different roasters, a lot of different processes. A lot of different beer styles. I've done a lambic style, spontaneous with coffee. Yeah. If people like it, good or bad, you can discuss, but you can have your own opinion. But at least I tried it and tried to use the coffee in a way that I thought would fit the sour taste. Done coffee IPAs. Actually, I think we did the first coffee IPA, and then a British brewery came out with one two weeks later, and we were like, yes, we did the first coffee IPA in the world. No, so coffee is also a thing that I've worked a lot with, for sure, and that I've always tend to go back to in some way. Yeah.
So is there anything you can't put in beer?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the good thing with beer is that you can pretty much do everything. You can. I mean, there are no limits, which is the opposite of wine, for example. I love wine. Wine is great, but it's one ingredient and nothing else. Yeah. Yeast, but grapes and yeast, right? Yeah. While in beer, you can do everything. Yeah. I think there's stuff you shouldn't put in a beer. Not that you can't do it if people want to do it, but I don't think it. I mean, meat, for example, I don't think it makes sense because, I mean, I think it's fun to imitate a meat flavor in a beer, like a bacon or something, by using smoked malts, for example. But actually adding meat to a beer, first of all, it's not good for the beer. No. It's not good for the process. It's not good for. And second of all, it doesn't give a lot. It doesn't give anything other than a picture for Instagram. Yeah. So I've never done that, and I don't think I ever will. Fish, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, dried fish, for example, bacalao from, this dried salty fish.
Okay.
I think you could use, but it's as a flavor because it gives saltiness. It gives like an umami deep thing.
Maybe in a kølsch that could work.
Yeah, but I mean, but meat in itself, like raw meat, I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's not my thing.
No. So what's next? Do you have any new projects coming up? New beers? You mentioned that Beer Geek Breakfast actually is coming back.
Yeah, Beer Geek Breakfast is coming back. It's one of the things that I know it sounds different than opening War Pigs, and I mean it's just a beer coming back, but it's actually a beer that is a little bit forgotten in our world and also in our company because so much has happened since then. And we kind of realized it has a really big place in our history and in our hearts. So we need to get it back and have it as one of our regular beers. So it'll come back.
I look forward to that.
And in an old school way, people will probably think like beer geeks will probably think it's if they haven't tasted it, it's nothing special about this, but it's actually one of the first coffee starters and pastry kind of things. So and then I'm just working with I constantly have projects with other brewers and other people and working a lot with Abeltoft at the moment to make the perfect lager. We want to make better lagers than the Germans. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but at least that's a goal we have in our minds. So.
That's a great goal.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
Thanks for listening to the podcast Beer and People from Beerstories. Visit my YouTube channel Beerstories for how-to videos for homebrewing, tips, tricks, guides, interviews, and much more. You can also follow my blog on Instagram or Facebook or visit my website beerstories.dk.